Hi everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Now you're probably thinking, well actually what you're probably thinking is why is he talking and nothing's coming out? Well, I had a major microphone malfunction about here. So for the rest of this video, or at least half of it, I'm going to be doing voiceover. I've never done this before, so bear with me. So what I was talking about was being lucky enough to be contacted by a company called Warco, who are a British machining company, and they offered me a metal fabrication tool called a Formit. Now this is the 12-inch version, or 300 millimeters, and it's designed for, it's a metal guillotine, a bender, and a slip roll. It's got brilliant capabilities, and for any sort of model engineering, it's definitely a must-have tool. Now, I contacted them through Facebook, something that they posted, and I got a bit of chat going backwards and forwards. And they asked me if there was anything that they were doing in their range that I had in my basket at the moment. And I happened to mention this Formit. So, bit of toing and froing, and they offered to send me one in exchange for doing a video, hence what I'm doing now. And I'm really looking forward to this because the fabrication that I do for the models, i.e. the bumpers, etc., this is definitely going to help and it's going to open new opportunities for me. So just a bit of specification, it's the 12-inch version, which is 305 millimeters. It's got a maximum cutting capacity of 1 millimeter for mild steel. It doesn't recommend using stainless steel, so please don't buy it if you're looking to use it for that. Maximum capacity for aluminium and copper is 1.2 mil. It says it can bend a 90-degree angle in the metal, but I actually managed to get it to do more. The minimum rolling diameter is 38 millimeters because that is the diameter of one of the rollers. Size wise, it's 480 by 290 by 350 millimeters in size, and it weighs 46 kilos. And yes, it does weigh 46 kilos because I had to pick it up and put it on the bench. So here I'm just starting to open the box. You get a decent set of instructions in there, and sitting in the top you get the lever bar with the two handles. So just putting the handles on the bench, nicely made out of plastic. And there's a first look at the Formit itself. It's nicely packed. It's all in really thick polystyrene, so nice heavy duty packaging there. And I'm just contemplating how I'm going to get it up onto the bench because, like I said, it is a heavy piece of kit. So we've got it up on the bench. First impressions, it always looks really cool in those very distinguishable Warco green and yellow. So nice movement. Take the safety guard off the top and we're just looking at the slip rolls. The slip rolls also feature those grooves in them for rolling round bar stock. So you can roll up to 1 millimeter thick material on this as well. Included in the kit, you've got the guide bars at the back so that when you're using the guillotine, the metal that you're cutting's got something to sit on. These are adjusters for the back, so you can use them as a repeat stop. We'll show that more in the video later. These are the adjusters that hold the top roll in, and that's what allows you to adjust what thickness material you're using. Got a couple of included Allen keys. These are the only two sizes that you need, although I did use my own Allen keys. And that's the stop for your repeat guide on the back. So these are the blades that are for the bender part. These are in separate pieces and different sizes because it allows you to put in as many or as few as you need to bend the part you need. Sometimes what you need to do is to take them out and just have one in there just to be able to bend an awkward angle. Like if you're bending the sides for a box or something like that, then when you use one or two of them, it means the others aren't in the way for making your bends. On the end here, we've got a guide for squaring up when you're cutting your material. I did find that this was too short, so one modification I'm going to make later on is I'm going to make a longer guide. I'll just probably make something out of aluminium and I'll make it adjustable so that I can true it up to the blades as well and make sure I get all those really nice square cuts. So here I'm just giving it a really good clean down with some brake cleaner, get all of that transport sort of lubricant off. It's horrible and sticky and you definitely don't want to get it over everything when you're making whatever your bits are. So I've stripped it down into bits and pieces as well as I've done it. Any sort of bushes and that I've given a little bit of grease when I've put them back. There's a couple of gears on the end, so I put a little bit of grease on those. And as you can see, there's a couple of grease nipples on there as well, which I've given a bit of grease just to make things move a bit smoother, really. Also doing this, it gave me a good chance to get a good look over it. And I've taken all the screws out, put them back in, put a little bit of lubricant on the ones that need it. I'll just put some spray on it to stop it from going rusty. I've gone over the whole thing, made sure everything's tight, it's adjusted, and just how I want it. And then just right at the last minute, I just made sure that that small fence was true to the blade, so that when I'm cutting, obviously I'm cutting square edges. I found a few sharp edges just on bits of metal where they've been pressed out or cut. So I just went over those with a small file and just tidied them up, just so I'm not going to catch myself when I'm making stuff. Here you'll just see me inspecting the part that holds the sheet metal down when you're doing the cutting. Something didn't look quite right, and I did find that the holes, although they were drilled all the way through and tapped, they weren't central. So there was nothing I could really do about it. I don't think it's going to be detrimental to the function of the machine, but I just found it a little bit annoying. You know, you would be paying a lot of money for this. It'd be £400 if you were to buy it. And just silly little things like the holes drilled in the centre there, but it obviously wasn't held straight when it was drilled, and tapped because the holes are off centre when you look at them from the. Now I'm just using a small engineer square just to square up that straight edge against the cutting blade. So when I make any cuts, I know it's going to be square. So just the last bit of tightening up and adjustment here. I highly recommend, if you get a machine like this, then strip it down, give it a good clean, put it back together and lubricate it, and it gives you a good chance to work out how it works. And if you need to do any adjustments, you'll know what to do. And just putting the repeatable guide on the back there and just making sure the handle's fitted properly. So it's really clever. All three functions use a cam system. This means you can put a little bit of effort in and you get a lot of effort out. And obviously it makes it easier for you as a user. And being one handle for all three functions makes it a lot easier to use. Right, that's it, all cleaned up, ready to use. A couple of things that I did do. Some of these are obviously sheared steel, so I have gone round them with a rotary tool just to take some of the sharp edges off. These bits are obviously going to be handling quite often. The blades also at the top did have a bit of a rough edge, so I've just tidied that up. Did take things apart and just make sure that everything's nicely lubricated. So it's all functioning really nicely. So let's get a bit of metal and see if we can't do some cuts with it. Okay, so just a couple of specs. Firstly, this is designed for primarily mild steel and aluminium. It doesn't recommend cutting stainless steel on it, which I can understand why. Now, in the specification, which I'll put up on the screen, it does say a maximum of 1mm steel. I don't actually think you'd get much thicker in there because of the lift of the guillotine. But one of the things that I've noticed right off the bat is I mentioned about this guide being too small, and there is no way you're going to be able to use that guide to square up your material. So I think one of the first things that I'm going to do is try and design something that's definitely a bit longer. You've got probably another 1.5 inches, so sort of 30 odd mil between this guard and the front of the bar that holds the material down. So we could definitely make that longer, and I could actually come out this way a little bit as well. And that would give you a much better guide for when you're trying to square up your material. So what I've done, I've put this light on top which is shining down, and currently it's shining parallel with the guillotine. So the blades are actually very nicely cut and very nicely ground, so they are square. I did put the blade down and put a light underneath, and there isn't anything that shines through. So whether they're ground as a pair or whether they're just ground quite well, I'm not certain. So, but what I've done, I've looked down here and I've lined up a mark that I've put on the steel by eye, and I'm hoping that's going to cut it square. So here we are, I've extended the arm to maximum reach. So let's see how easily it cuts that. So there we go. So bearing in mind I don't have this fixed down to the bench, so obviously there was a little bit of tipping there, which I wasn't expecting. It did take a lot of force, to be fair, to cut through that, but I am trying to cut a full sort of, that's probably 10-inch. Let's just measure that. Yeah, so 250mm wide. I'm trying to cut that in one go. So that is going to take quite a considerable amount of force, but it has cut it. Let's have a look at how the edge is. So hopefully you can see that. It's actually left a really nice edge, and there's no burr on that, back or front. So that's a positive. So let's have a look at the bit it's actually cut off. Okay, there we go. So that's our first bit cut. It's actually cut a really nice edge. I don't know if that's put a little twist in it or whether that was in there originally. A lot of this material, obviously, it does store energy, and when you cut it, it can come out. But fingers crossed that's not going to cause too many issues for us going on to our little project. So let's mark this up a little bit more, get our squares cut, and see how we get on with it. So I'm just going to have a go at setting up that guide. So if I can, I want to do 50mm squares. So just butt the guide up to that. Pinch that lightly. Do the same up that end. Okay, so hopefully you can see there what I've done. I've got a rule, and I've just slid it in where the metal's going to go, and I've lined up the backstop with the blade. So hopefully when we cut, we're going to get repeatability, so we're going to get the same sides every time we cut. And obviously for a cube we need 6 sides. So I line up as best I can with this marker. Right, so as I was saying earlier, because this guide isn't very long, although I've ended up with a piece that's probably about 100mm long now, it's next to useless because I can't use the guide. So having that longer guide would definitely help. But I did cut another strip, so what we'll do, we'll swap out to the other strip and we'll cut the rest from this one. And there we go, we've ended up with our 6 squares for our cube. And what I'll do, I'll tidy the edges up and we'll just compare them for squareness and for size against each other and see how repeatable the machine is. So unfortunately, because of that guide, we have ended up with 2 pieces 100mm long by 50mm wide, which I know that when I've done this guide, I'd definitely be able to reuse these. But if I wanted to make that again, although it's square against the backstop, it's not square against this edge. So the only way I can tell something's true against the blade is against this guide, which is, I know, is squared up to here. I can't guarantee that the backstop is square. Okay, so I've just cleaned the edges up with the die tool, and actually repeatability is very good. I'd definitely say they're within probably 0.2 of a millimetre each. Now that could be that deviation in that guide. It could be me, could be, you know, the guide at the back slightly off. But you know, I don't know if you can make that out in the video, but they're all square. That's the main thing. So let's get them up on the welding table and we'll have a play with those. Okay, so we've had a play with the guillotine on it. Let's have a go with the bender. So what I've done, I've marked these. This is the same material, 1mm raw steel. I've measured one across the length, which is 100mm, and one across the width, which is 50mm. And let's see how that performs on the bending machine. So as I said, it all works on a cam off the same handle. So what you need to do is be 180 degrees out with the handle for the bending part as you do for the cutting part, because obviously they're both attached, both use the same cam. So what I've done, I've slackened the handle off. I'll move the handle up to the next position in preparation for using the bender. So let's do the narrow one first. I've left the light on here because obviously it aids me in what I'm doing. So what I do, I just bring those blades down, and again I'll use the light to line it up, looking down the length, just trying to line up my line with the blades. And what I can also do is just put a square up against here, just to see how square we are. And then I'm guessing if you go the full cam, that goes to full 90 degrees. Oh, so that's good. So we're actually over 90 degrees. So if you wanted to bend, I mean, I'd say that's probably nearly sort of 50 degrees. If you want to overbend it, that's useful too. And that's actually a really nice sharp bend. So what I was worried about was this would be a huge curve, but it's actually a very good point. And that didn't take much effort at all. In fact, it was a lot less effort than trying to use as a guillotine. So let's try the next one, bending it on the 100 millimeters wide. So I've got scribe lines on here. It'd actually be better if you had drawn lines. And let's try and get this one to 90. So just a little bit more. And again, it's good. You can just stop what you're doing, take the material out, put it back in, go a little bit more, just a touch more. And there, maybe a tiny bit over, but that's just bent that with very little effort indeed. Again, certainly much less effort than it takes to cut through it with the guillotine. So I'm really pleased with that, because this is one of the main things I want to use also. I make a lot of custom parts for RC cars and trucks, etc. And out of this material, that's going to be fantastic. So that's using the bending tool. So let's have a go with the rollers. Okay, so now we're going to try the roller portion. So this is called a slip roll. I'm guessing it's to do with the fact that the material slips across one of the rolls at the back. Don't know, you have to Google that. If you know, then please let me know in the comments. But what I've done, I've adjusted all of the rollers so they're touching, and then I've marked them so I know I'm adjusting them all the same amount. So I've adjusted this top roller 1 millimeter, which is the thickness of our material, and now I've just gone in a little bit so that when we put it in, it grips it. And then the back one, I've adjusted it out. I've done it 7 turns, not that that's got any sort of relation to anything at all. But what you do now is you just put your material in, and what it does is as it goes through, and try and hold it square as it's going through, it will hit the roller behind. I'll show you in a minute. It hits the roller behind, and then it just bends it up very slightly. And the more you roll it through, the more of a curve it puts in. And as you can see, that's now curving up towards us. So let me move the camera around so you get a better angle and you can see exactly what I'm doing. There we go. This is the back roller that I mentioned, and I'll go backwards so you can see. But basically, as you turn the roller handle, it's rolling the material through and then putting a nice curve in it. And obviously, if you want a tighter curve, you just adjust the rollers. So we'll adjust the rollers a little bit more, and we'll see if we can't get this into almost a circle. So we've just got some adjusting knobs on the back, and like I said, I've marked them up so that I know how much I'm adjusting each one, and hopefully they're sitting square. So we'll come back to the start with our material. Just leave it pinch between these rollers. Now you don't need to adjust these rollers yet, and we'll just go in a couple of turns with the back roller. And then as we roll through again, it's going to start putting that tighter curve in. And what you can do is obviously go back to where you started Now you do have a slight square edge here, but this is where you've got the distance between the front set of rollers and the rear rollers, where it's not actually doing anything. So if we turn that round so that that's at the back, then hopefully that will take that square edge off. Yeah, it's starting to take that off. So we'll just adjust it up another turn. And each time we turn, we're moving the rollers closer together. We're slowly making that tighter and tighter curve. So again, one more turn. Okay. And this, I mean, this is only 25 millimeters wide, so this is actually really easy to turn. In fact, I'm not putting any more pressure than sort of trying to overcome the friction of the machine itself. We'll just do a couple on that. Adjust it up again. You can just start to see we're just starting to get that tight curve now. So we'll go around a couple of times. Just going to adjust those rollers just the tiniest bit at a time now, just to try and close up that small gap. And there we go. We've now closed up the gap. So you're probably thinking, well, that's great, but how do you get it out now? So what you do is this top roller, you wind these handles right off, and hopefully you can see that slot. Just lift that roller up, lift it out, and there you go. And as you can see, that got a very small flat here, which you can probably just make out. But other than that, that's almost a perfect circle, and that's pretty square as well. I mean, I didn't overly put loads of pressure on that, but with a little bit of manipulation, you can do that. And maybe we could weld that up and then put it through the rollers again and see if we can't get it perfectly round. But again, that's going to be a really useful feature. In fact, one of the things that I've wanted to do is an extractor for my sand blasting machine. And just looking at that, I think that's going to be the perfect tool for me to weld up a flange to put the hoover on it. So there we go. Let's do a little bit of welding and then I'll come back to you, show you what results I've got.
Excited. Put it up, Ishika. Oh, thank you. When I said all officers must work, naturally I never meant you, the commanding officer. My orders were only intended for officers below. None of my officers will do manual labor. Please. I was about to say, I have been thinking the matter over and decided to put measures in above administrative duties, leaving only the junior officers to lend hand. I'm afraid not. The convention's quite clear on that point. Perhaps you are not aware that the bridge is now under my personal command. Really? May I ask, are you satisfied with the work? I am not. Prove my point. I take the British. You're defeated, but you have no shame. You're stubborn, but have no pride. You endure, but you have no courage. I hate the British. My name's my honor.
Right, well, here's my efforts. I just tacked that ring together. So what I'll do, I'll let that cool, tidy up that weld a bit, and then we can put it back in the slip rollers and see if we can't make it perfectly round. And then here's my cube. A welder I am not, but yeah, a couple of them are a bit iffy. But once I've got going, there we go. It's a bit cleaner. Like I say, I'm not a welder. I've done a bit over the years, and I do a bit for my hobby now. Bought myself a TIG set from Artec Welding, another British company, a couple of years ago. I've really enjoyed using it. Easy set to use once you get it set up for sort of the material that you want to do. It's absolutely brilliant. So here's my cube. It is square, believe it or not. So what I'll do, I'll tidy these up a little bit, and then we'll have another look at it. And yeah, but overall, point being, it cuts a nice square. I think I'm going to modify that straight edge, like we said, and do a couple of other little mods to it. But overall, yeah, brilliant. Right, so we've got the ring now. It's all welded up. I've tidied it up a little bit just to make it a little bit flatter. And just to explain how to get it back on again, because obviously we've got a complete circle now. So you just slacken these right off, lift your roller out, place it on, put your roller back in, and then nip these down. Don't need to be super tight. Just try and keep them even, and then you can crack on with your rolling again. So obviously we've got that thick bit. So what I do, I just slacken them off a tiny bit, and then we'll just slowly adjust back roller. And remember, all we're trying to do is just round off that bit where the weld is. We'll just go half a turn. And using the momentum of the machine to help you turn the handle. And I think now we are just about go half turn more. And there we go. I don't think we're going to get it any rounder than that. So again, complete opposite to get it off. So we wind these off. Lift out your roller. Remove your piece. And there we go. Even where the weld is, you can see how much, tiny little flat there, but see how much rounder it is. And overall, I'm really happy with that. And there we are, my second little test piece, just a little cube. I'm not going to do the test that I had to do back in the day and put it in water, because I know there's a couple of tiny little holes in there. But I don't confess to be a welder, but I just enjoy it for part of my hobby. And I think it's a fun little project. It just proves that cutting on here is repeatable. We tried those couple of bits with the bending as well, which I think came out really well. The bend is a lot tighter than I was expecting, which is perfect for the hobby that I do. And it took very little effort to actually bend those as far as it did. And you could probably set up some sort of gauge on here so that you can measure how far you're bending. But also with that, the slip roll, we rolled that ring, which I think has come out really, really well. I don't think anyone would be disappointed with that. So all in all, I think the 3-in-1 12-inch shear press brake slip roll machine from Warco is absolutely brilliant. I'm really happy with it. I hope it's going to serve me well for many, many years. And I look forward to doing those few little upgrades on it, and then we can get on and use it probably on a regular basis. So thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to go and have a look at Warco's website. They've got loads and loads of brilliant items on there. Really well priced. The delivery was really quick. And I want to say a huge thank you to Warco for supplying this. Yeah, thanks very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.